Welcome, Adelaide. It's an honor to have you on our summit.
Yay, I'm excited to be here. I always enjoy interviews. I get to peek into myself from an outsider's perspective. So I'm very excited to be here and to hear what you've got in store.
Awesome, thank you. So today you're going to talk about business and pleasure, the pursuit of a modern day Renaissance woman. Um, First, I wanted to mention that it's incredible that you were raised by artist parents. When I first saw your brother's collection of your father's painting, I saw how much he influenced your art, and it actually made me appreciate your art so much more. Seeing like where your artistry came from, right? And can you tell us what it was like growing up with artist parents? I know that you were a lucky child and that your creativity was allowed to be liberated from such a young age.
Yeah, I never really, of course, growing up as a child, didn't have much to compare myself to in terms of what a normal family life was like. But now, having a broader perspective, I can really see the ways I was influenced and not necessarily pushed. But for example, my dad used to let us draw on the wall. So I literally learned how to write my name on the wall, and we mess it up, and then he would just paint over it. And honestly, if you know how to just paint a wall, if you get the same color, like any kid could do that. But that the liberty that we had, and then as I got a little bit older and still a child doing artwork, he would frame like some pieces that I would spend legitimate time on for a child. He would frame them and put them on the wall, and so it was the little things like that that always made me feel like my art was recognized and seen, even though they never were like, it's art time, it's time to do art, we're doing art. It was more of, you know, a positive feedback loop onto like what I was already doing or interested in. And of course, the materials were always handy. I actually can remember smelling when I was a little older and my dad had a studio space separately. I remember smelling like the oil paints and even the turpentine. Probably not the best thing, but it still has a nostalgic feeling to it. And it was just a part of my environment.
Awesome. That's wonderful. I think that's a great idea to just allow your child to have the freedom to create and express on the wall, where so many people are just like, no, you can't do that. That's wrong. And then here your father's like, yeah, do it. And then we'll make a masterpiece over it, right? I think that's awesome. Um, so one thing I love is your dancing. It's incredible. Hopefully one day I can be as captivating as you on stage. Did you start dancing at a young age too?
Yeah, so this kind of fills in the other half of the family tree. My mother, she is a dancer. She was in modern and ballet, and it wasn't until she met up with my father and his music background in Middle Eastern music and his Syrian background from my grandparents that she started to also belly dance. So belly dance has been kind of the root of my career, but it wasn't necessarily where it all started. It started in expressive African, Cuban ballroom. Like my mother did it all, but she did it all very modestly. And so she never really pursued it as a career, but she is and was such a muse, and she put on recitals, and so I was a little ballerina in her recitals on stage, and all the way up until the time I was old enough to want to rebel because that's just my nature. But then I came back around to taking, like when I was in high school, she used to teach belly dance in our living room, and just like I teach in my living room now. And eventually, after she let me rebel against the ballet, I kind of warmed up and was like, I really do love dance, and I want to learn from my mother and from other teachers. And I started to seek it out again. I had like a rebirth in high school, and at that point, I started communicating with my sister, who was already in San Diego, and started the Shimmy Sisters, and then the rest is the history that's happening at the moment.
That's awesome. I love your journey of dance. It's an inspiring journey. Um, so your rap ballades are hilarious. Very well produced, I must say. Your mermaid one is hilarious. Can you tell us a little bit about what inspired this fun project?
Yeah, so when I first, so I was first of all an entertainment artist, full time, before I even started painting. And then when I started to really bring the art into my life and actually painting in 2008, I would get all these downloads while doing it. And one of the things I was re-getting was that the visual art was going to be some kind of transport to me finding my voice and using my voice. And as a visionary artist, all of the artwork has a meaning and a symbol. So at first I would make videos of me saying, you know, this is my art, this is what it means, and I would explain the process. And so I started using my voice, which, believe it or not, was very, very shy. For whatever, I have a history of why I was shy with my voice, but we won't go there yet. And so I started opening up, and then they became a video series called Conscious Collaborations. And if you have links, we can share some of that, where I did like performance art and then talked at the end about some kind of conscious change. And I was dating a videographer at the time. And then when we split up, I stopped doing those videos. But I still was painting, and I started inviting over musicians and vocalists and poets over to my house. And I was like, hey, I can rap. And everyone was like, what? And I was like, yeah, I used to rap in high school. I just like get high and rap. And I just have it in me. And I was really shy, but we just started doing these kind of like beatnik, like we're painting, we're rapping. And I was like, I wish I had a way to like share my art in a rap form. And I was really, you know, kind of shy to do it myself, so I had to make up some ridiculous character that would do it for me. And the power of aliases is amazing. And so I kind of came up with the Rapalade idea, and then I went on tour, and I found this like little purple dress, and then I found these fake braids, and I started to see what she looked like, and that gave me the confidence to start doing them. And you know, it takes a while to get, I wanted to have a painting for each video. And so everything's taking some time. So I'm being a little more selective on the Rapalades I want to do now. The mermaid one was actually a complete side project. We did that in like 1 week, and it was really just for fun. My friend had the idea, and I was, you know, really into the rap community. After I made Rapalade, I started going to hip hop nights. I started freestyling with a bunch of like homies and just big dudes on stage, and I would just throw myself out there to the wolves. And I love it because I just love the stream of consciousness that comes out, and I like being put on the spot. I like feeling like hot and nervous, and I guess you can say I'm a little bit of an adrenaline junkie, and so rapping brought that, is like something that brings that out, and I see it tying into my visual art. And it's also kind of one of those things where you're like, you know, life is short, and you really can't take yourself too seriously. And so it was kind of an example of that. Some people are like, are you serious? Are you joking? And I'm like, yeah, a little bit of both. They're both, it's a little bit of both. And so I look forward to seeing what happens. I'm going to do one called Body is Temple. And I want my belly dance students, I want to really incorporate not just the rapping and the art, but like my students to do like, you know, pop and lock in the background, be backup dancers. And it can give us something fun to work on. So I'm trying to weave in all of these different art forms so I don't feel like so scattered. And so Rapalade kind of weaves in all these different parts of me, like all these different personalities that originally I didn't think I could be a rapper and a belly dancer. And now I'm like, I could do that. Anyone could do that. We don't have to put ourselves in boxes. So it's very liberating. A very liberating thing. I almost didn't share the first video, and I'm really happy that I did. But we all struggle with our own like confidence issues or blocks and Rapalade. But once I created that character, I felt like, okay, I can pretty much do anything ridiculous I want, and I have since then done some ridiculous things. So it's good times.
That's awesome. What a fun story. Thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
So one thing I admire about you is how dynamic and diverse your art and business are. Can you tell us about how to manage and see the connection between multiple careers and art forms?
Yeah, and actually, I remember you mentioning this question. Let me see 1 second. Okay. Anyway, so I'll say that has been the biggest challenge for me, is being this like quote unquote modern Renaissance woman. And somebody gave me some good advice. They said, you can do it all, you just can't do it all at the same time. And it makes a lot of sense. And I feel like I spent so much of my early career trying to do everything and then feeling like, oh, I'm not painting enough. Oh, I'm not dancing enough. Oh, I'm not relaxing enough. And you're never going to get enough of any of it. So I've kind of developed, maybe one day I'll write a book, but instead of, there's like linear paths and then there's circular. And I'm a very circular person, and I do multitask and I work on things periodically, but sometimes you just have to be a little bit patient. And I'm like the last person you would think would say that, because I know my family thinks like, oh my God, just be patient, you're doing all these things. But in reality, I am pretty patient. I have tons of projects in motion, and even if I'm not working on them, they're still there. And so that whole doing it all but not all at the same time is really helpful. And sometimes I'll be writing lyrics that will like inspire me to finish up a painting that was halfway done, or so I think seeing the link in between the different things that you're doing is really helpful, and also not pushing it. Like, there's no need to push your inspiration. If you're a multifaceted artist and you struggle with being overly inspired, which I do, sometimes you just have to realize that this isn't the time for that, and if it reoccurs, then it should happen. And so the ideas that reoccur in my life are the ones that end up coming to fruition. And so I call it circular logic. It's like, even when I'm cleaning the house, I'm cleaning the kitchen, and then I move over here, and then I'm doing and I might not be done with the kitchen before I move on to the living room, but at the same time, everything is getting done, and at the end of the day, it's the same product. And so I kind of like to use metaphors like that to what it's like to have multifacets in your life, and how to, I guess, be successful and not be too hard on yourself when you're not getting one done and then the next done. They're all kind of weaving together and over layering. If that answers your question.
Yeah, no, definitely. I love that. That's beautiful, and I love that piece of advice. You can do everything, but not all at the same time, right?
Yeah.
And so, yeah, that's something that I had to learn myself, because I also have like all these ideas that I want to do, and I was trying to do them all at once, and so nothing got done.
Yeah.
So now I'm like taking a step back, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do this first, and I'm just gonna put all of these on ice for now, and they'll thaw out when they're ready.
Yeah.
So what was it like starting your own dance company, and how did it open doors for the success of your distinguished career?